It's got violence. It's got intrigue. It's got vodka and a talking cat. It even has the fifth procurator of Judea. I am talking about the Russian classic, The Master and Margarita by Mikhail Bulgakov. It's book review time! The Master and Margarita was written during Stalinist Russia in the early 20th century, and it was only finally published as a censored version in 1967. The book primarily tells the story of the devil visiting Moscow, Russia, and the series of strange events that seem to follow wherever he goes. Additionally, the story of the fifth procurator of Judea, Pontius Pilate, is told in parallel to the main story. Summary! The book starts in Patriarch's Pond with an editor admonishing one of his writers who wrote a piece for the newspaper denying Jesus had any supernatural powers, for even suggesting that Jesus was a real historical person, which sets up Moscow during this time as this very atheist, anti-God community. And so, as the editor and writer are arguing about this, a strange man approaches them, who we quickly learn is the devil, and he weighs in on their conversation, and without wasting much time, he tells the editor exactly how he is going to die. Now, shortly after this, the writer witnesses the editor die in the exact manner that the devil said that he would, and he ends up chasing the man that we know as the devil, who is then quickly joined by this human-like cat named Behemoth and the choir master, Koravov Fogot, and this wonderful, really exciting chase scene ensues, and the man chasing them, Ivan Nikolaevich, eventually manages to lose them, and in the process, most of his clothes as well. This leads to Ivan bursting into Griboyedov, where members of his prestigious literary organization stay, where he tries to implore his compatriots to help him and ends up being taken to a mental hospital due to no one believing him. And this kind of becomes this common theme in the book. There are several instances after this where characters face intense conflict over believing what is clearly happening before their own eyes, yet contrary to what they believe to be sensible. And so, after this, the story includes some very memorable events, such as the devil putting on a black magic show for all of Moscow that ends in disaster for many members of the audience. An entire organization is hypnotized into singing perfectly in sync despite their physical resistance. There's Satan's Ball, in which all of the most infamous misdoers attend. And a personal favorite of mine is the shootout that takes place between Behemoth, the talking cat, and the Moscow police. This book at its core, though, is a love story between the master, a mental patient, and Margarita, the wife of a wealthy businessman in Moscow. What was compelling to me was the conflict between the people of Moscow's atheistic ideology and the reality of their world. In the end of the book, everything that happens is concluded to have a perfectly reasonable scientific explanation, when as the reader, we clearly know that this wasn't the case. The other thing that stuck out to me was Margarita's love for the master that was so strong that she truly didn't care she was making a deal with the devil to be with the master. There's also a lot of sexual imagery within the book that has an interesting contrast with the typical lack of intimacy of those moments. I think in every example in the book, nudity is associated with some negative emotion, such as embarrassment and panic after the theater incident, or fear in the case of Hella and Rimsky. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. I thought it was paced really well, and I found myself wanting to get back to it to see what happens next. The characters are really what made the story great, in my opinion. The chemistry between the devil and his retinue are pretty amazing. There are all these great interactions between the devil and Behemoth, kind of teasing each other back and forth, that I really enjoyed. The ending left me satisfied and has content that I think is worthwhile to reflect upon. I give The Master and Margarita you should read this book out of 5. And as always, thanks for watching.